The grocery cart rattles every time I turn a corner, one stubborn will pulling left like it's tired of pretending everything is fine. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. Too bright. Too white. They make every price tag impossible to ignore. I stop in front of the dairy case and pull my phone out again, even though I already know what the screen will show. The calculator app is still open. Numbers stacked neatly.
Carefully.
$1,086.43. Milk.
Eggs. Fruit. Bread.
Chicken. Nothing extra. Nothing indulgent. Mommy, can we get the honey cereal? My son asks softly from the seat of the cart. Ethan swings his legs, sneakers tapping the metal frame. He's holding a small box of strawberries I let him pick himself. They're already sweating through the plastic. I smile at him. The kind of smile that lives only on the surface. Let's see, I say, and take the cereal box from his hands. I turn it over, pretending to read the nutrition label while my chest tightens. $6.79. I place it back on the shelf. Maybe next time, okay? He nods too quickly. Kids learn disappointment early when you make it routine. I move on, adding the last item to the cart, a generic bag of rice, and then stop. There's nowhere else to go. No more choices to make. No more substitutions to pretend our preferences. Checkout is 10 steps away. I text my husband anyway.
Me.
I'm at checkout. Totals about $1,100. The message delivers instantly. 3 gray dots appear, then disappear. Ethan hums to himself. Some cartoon theme song. He doesn't notice my fingers trembling around the phone. I glance at the cart again, doing the mental math one more time, hoping it will magically change. It doesn't. Groceries cost what they cost. Children eat what they eat. Another buzz. Mark Calder. $1,100 for groceries? That's insane. I swallow.
Me.
It's the whole week. Prices are up. The dots come back. Stay longer this time. Then, $1,100 is ridiculous, Lila. You need to learn how to budget. My name feels heavier when he types it like that. I stare at the message while a woman behind me clears her throat. The cashier is watching politely, one eyebrow raised, fingers resting on the scanner. Mom, Ethan asks. Are we going home now? Yeah, I say quickly. Just a second, baby. I type back with stiff fingers.
Me.
The pantry's empty. Ethan needs lunches. I cut everything I could. A pause. Then the sentence that will replay in my head for months. $700. That's all I'm approving. Put stuff back. Approving. Like I'm a child asking for permission. Like I didn't cook every meal. Like I didn't plan every list. Like his son doesn't eat 3 times a day. I feel heat crawl up my neck. The store smells like bread and cleaning spray. Somewhere, a scanner beeps cheerfully. I look down at Ethan. He's watching my face now. He knows. Can we still have chicken? He asks. You said you'd make the good one. My throat tightens. I'm just figuring something out, I say. I turn back to the cart and start removing items. Chicken first, then fruit, then yogurt. Each thud into the return basket feels louder than the last. The cashier's smile fades. She doesn't say anything. That somehow hurts more. The total drops. $943, $812, $734. Still not enough. I take out the strawberries Ethan picked himself. His fingers curl tighter around the cart. Mom, he whispers. I don't answer. I just place them gently on the shelf beside the register, like I'm tucking them in. Finally, the screen flashes $698.12. I swipe the card Mark allows me to use. It goes through. Approved. The word burns. Outside, the sun is warmer than I expect. The parking lot smells like hot asphalt. I load the bags into the trunk in silence while Ethan climbs into his seat. As I close the door, he looks at me with a seriousness no 7-year-old should carry. Did Daddy say no again? He asks. I rest my forehead against the car for just 1 second before answering. He just doesn't understand, I say. But deep down, As I start the engine and pull out of the lot with half a grocery list fulfilled, a quieter thought settles in. He understands perfectly. And for the first time, I realize this wasn't about groceries at all. By the time we get home, the ice cream aisle is already a memory, and so is the idea that tonight might feel normal. The house is quiet when I unlock the door. Too quiet. Mark's shoes aren't by the entryway. His jacket isn't slung over the chair like he forgets it there on purpose. The air smells faintly like last night's coffee and nothing else. Ethan carries the lightest bag inside, the one with bread and cereal. He sets it on the counter carefully like it might break. "I can help," he says, already reaching for another. "I've got it," I tell him. "Go wash your hands." He does, obedient as always, humming the same tune from the car. The sink runs. The sound fills the space where conversation should be. I unpack slowly. Too slowly. Each item lands with a soft thud that echoes louder than it should. No chicken. No strawberries. No yogurt. The fridge looks embarrassed when I close it. My phone vibrates on the counter.
Mark.
"Did you fix it?" I stare at the message.
Me. Yes.
3 seconds later. "Good. You have to stop overspending, Lila." Overspending. On food. I don't reply. I start dinner with what's left. Pasta. A jar of sauce I bought last week. I water it down to make it stretch, stirring until the red turns pale. The smell is thin, like it knows it isn't enough. Ethan sits at the table coloring, his feet swinging. He watches me more than the paper. "Is Daddy coming home?" he asks. "Later," I say. I don't know if it's a lie yet. We eat in near silence. Ethan twirls pasta carefully, trying to make it last. Halfway through, he looks up. "Mom," he says, hesitating. "Did the strawberries cost too much?" The fork slips from my fingers and clinks against the plate. "No," I say too fast. "They're just for another time." He nods, but his eyes don't leave mine. "Okay," he says. "I wasn't that hungry anyway." That's when it hits. Not like a wave. Like something hollowing me out from the inside. After dinner, Ethan lines up his toys on the living room rug. He plays quietly. Too quietly. I wipe the counter that's already clean, just to keep my hands busy. The front door opens an hour later. Mark walks in, phone pressed to his ear, laughing at something I can't hear. He ends a call when he sees me. "Hey," he says, casual. "You cook?" "Yes." He peers into the pot, lifts the lid, then lets it drop. That's it. I don't answer. He exhales sharply. "This is what I mean. You don't plan. You just react." I feel my shoulders tighten. "Mark, groceries are expensive. I showed you the receipt last week." "You always have an excuse," he says, opening the fridge. He scans the shelves, unimpressed. "Where's the meat?" I had to put it back. He turns to me, incredulous. "You couldn't manage under $1,100? Something in his tone makes Ethan freeze on the floor. "I managed under what you approved," I say quietly. Mark scoffs. "You're being dramatic." There it is. The phrase he uses when he doesn't want to listen. "I'm not," I say. "Our son needs to eat." "He ate, didn't he?" Mark gestures toward the table. "You're acting like we're starving." Ethan looks up at us, eyes wide. "Am I in trouble?" he asks. The room goes still. "No," I say immediately, crossing to him. I kneel and brush his hair back. "You didn't do anything wrong." Mark sighs.
See?
You put ideas in his head. I stand slowly. "Don't," I say. It's barely a word. Mark shakes his head and heads down the hall. I'm not fighting about this. Figure it out. The bedroom door closes. Not slammed, just shut. Later, after Ethan is asleep, I sit alone at the kitchen table. The receipt lies folded in my hand, edges worn from being smoothed too many times. $698.12. I think about the strawberries, about the chicken, about how small my world has become. And for the first time, I let myself ask a question I've been avoiding for years. If this is normal, why does it hurt so much? It didn't start with groceries. That's the lie I used to tell myself, anyway. that the fights were new, that the tension came from inflation or stress or bad timing. Anything except the truth. When Mark and I first married, money felt like a shared language. We were careful, sure, but it was we. We planned. We dreamed. We talked about houses with porches and kids with backpacks too big for their shoulders. Back then, I worked full-time. I paid half the rent. I bought my own clothes without asking. The first shift was subtle. "Why don't I handle the finances?" Mark said one night, scrolling through his laptop. "You hate numbers." I laughed, because it sounded harmless. Because he said it like he was helping. So I let him. The second shift came after Ethan was born. Childcare cost more than my paycheck. Mark suggested I stay home for a bit. He framed it like a gift. Like relief. "You'll still have access to everything," he promised. "What's mine is yours." What he didn't say was that access would slowly turn into permission. It started with small comments. "Do you really need brand-name diapers? Why is the electric bill higher? Can you keep grocery trips under $600? Every question carried the same message: justify yourself. By Ethan's second birthday, I had an allowance. We didn't call it that, but that's what it was. A set transfer every month into an account Mark monitored. I kept receipts in a drawer, lined up like evidence. Once, I bought Ethan a winter coat on sale. A good one.
Warm.
Blue with reflective strips. Mark noticed immediately. "That was $90, he said that night, holding the receipt. "Do you think money grows on trees?" I remember standing there, holding our son, apologizing. "I'll return it," I said. "You already took the tags off," Mark replied. "Be more careful next time." Careful. As if warmth was reckless. Holidays were worse. At Christmas, Mark bought himself a new watch. Ethan got 3 toys from a clearance bin. I wrapped them like they were precious. When my phone battery died and I asked for a replacement, Mark sighed loudly and said, "Can it wait until next month?" But when his company needed him to travel, he booked flights without blinking. I told myself this was marriage. That compromise felt like sacrifice. That I was lucky not to worry about rent. The truth surfaced in fragments. A declined card at the pharmacy when Ethan had a fever. A bill I never saw until it was overdue. A bank alert that said insufficient funds while Mark's account sat untouched. Once, at a friend's barbecue, someone joked about grocery prices. "Tell me about it," I said lightly. "Our bill was over 1,000 last week." Mark laughed. Actually laughed. "She exaggerates," he told them. "If I let her, she'd spend us into debt." Everyone chuckled. I smiled too, my face burning. That night, he pulled me aside. "Don't embarrass me like that," he said. "People will think I can't control my household."
Control.
The word echoed louder than the laughter ever had. The moment that cracked everything open came 6 months before the grocery store. I found a credit card statement I wasn't supposed to see. Mark had left it on the printer by accident. Hotel charges. Restaurant bills. Amounts I couldn't imagine justifying for myself. When I asked about it, he didn't deny it. "I work hard," he said. "I deserve comfort." I looked at the numbers again, then at the list I kept taped inside a cabinet door. Our grocery limits. Our utility caps. My personal spending ceiling. That night, I lay awake next to him, staring at the dark. It wasn't that we didn't have money. It was that I wasn't allowed to touch it. The final straw in my memory came in the form of a message. A group chat screenshot a friend accidentally sent me. Mark joking about training me to shop cheaper. Laughing emojis. Thumbs up. My stomach dropped. I closed the message and sat on the floor of the bathroom, the light buzzing above me. For years, I'd thought I was bad with money. Now, with painful clarity, I understood something else entirely. This wasn't budgeting. It was control. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The next refusal doesn't come in a grocery store. It comes on a Tuesday morning, folded neatly into a white envelope stamped with Ethan's school logo. I open it at the kitchen counter while the coffee brews. Steam curls up, fogging my glasses. For a moment, I don't even read the words. I just see the number printed in bold. $1,240. Field trip. Science camp. 3 days. Meals included. Ethan bounces into the room, backpack already on. Mom, did you see it? We get to sleep in cabins. There's a telescope. I smile automatically. That sounds amazing. It is, he says. Ms. Harlan said only a few kids get to go. Only a few. My chest tightens. After he leaves for school, I sit down and read the letter again. I read it like there might be a cheaper version hidden between the lines. There isn't. I text Mark during my usual window. The one I've learned not to cross. Ethan's school sent a notice. Science camp. It's $1,240. The reply comes faster than I expect. $1,240 for a field trip? Absolutely not. I stare at the screen. Me. It's educational. He's really excited.
Dots. Gone.
Dots again. Then he doesn't go. Just like that. I feel my heart start to race. My hands go cold. Me. Mark, this is important. He'll feel left out. Life is full of disappointments, he writes. Better he learns now. Something inside me snaps, not loudly, not dramatically. Quietly, like a wire pulled too tight. I press my palms flat against the counter, grounding myself. The coffee maker clicks off behind me. Me. We can afford it. His response is instant. I decide what we can afford. There it is.
Plain.
Undeniable. I picture Ethan in his classroom, listening to his friends talk about cabins and telescopes, nodding like he's okay. Shrinking himself the way I've shrunk myself for years. My chest feels heavy. My breath shallow. I don't argue this time. Instead, I print the email. I add it to the drawer of receipts and notices. The drawer that's stopped feeling accidental. That night, Mark brings it up at dinner like it's settled. I told Lila it's a no, he says casually, twirling pasta on his fork. Those trips are a scam. Ethan freezes. But Dad, he says, voice small. Ms. Harlan said it helps with middle school placement. Mark shrugs. You'll survive. I watch my son's face fall. Something dark and familiar pools in his eyes. I push my chair back. Excuse me, I say. In the bathroom, I lock the door and grip the sink. My reflection looks pale. Older. My hands are shaking. This isn't about money. It's about watching my child learn that his needs are optional. When I step back into the kitchen, Mark looks annoyed. Can you not make a scene? He says. I take a breath. A real one. I'm not making a scene, I say. I'm drawing a line. He laughs. Over a school trip? Over everything, I reply. That night, after Ethan is asleep, I sit at the table with the envelope, the receipts, and my laptop. I search words I've never let myself search before. Financial control in marriage. Child support rights. Spousal support court order. Each result feels like a door cracking open. I don't feel brave. I feel tired. But for the first time, I also feel clear. Mark will never change. And if I don't do something now, Ethan will grow up thinking this is normal. I close the laptop and whisper a sentence I've never said out loud. Enough. I don't announce my decision. There's no dramatic speech. No packed suitcase waiting by the door. Just a quiet morning where I wake up before everyone else and sit at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee I don't really taste. My laptop hums softly. The house is still dark. I open a new document and start listing numbers.
Rent.
Utilities. Groceries. School lunches. Shoes that get outgrown too fast. Doctor visits.
Gas. Soap.
Toothpaste. Every ordinary thing that somehow became a luxury once I stopped earning my own paycheck. I don't inflate anything. I don't dramatize. I just write the truth. Then I open a second tab and search for a family law office 10 minutes from the house. I stare at the phone number for a full minute before dialing. My hand shakes when the receptionist answers. I need to talk to someone about financial support, I say. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. She schedules a consultation for Friday. No judgment. No surprise. Just a date and time. I hang up and sit back, heart pounding. Nothing has exploded. The walls are still standing. The world didn't end. That afternoon, I do one small, symbolic thing. I open a new bank account in my name. Not to hide money. Not to run.
Just to exist.
I deposit the small emergency fund I've been quietly saving from cash gifts and returned items over the years. It isn't much, but when I see my name alone on the screen, something in my chest loosens. That night, Mark doesn't notice anything different. He rarely does. I make dinner. Ethan helps chop vegetables with his plastic knife. We laugh when one piece skids off the counter and onto the floor. For 20 minutes, the house feels light. After Ethan goes to bed, I gather the receipts from the drawer. I straighten them,
Group them.
staple where needed. I slide them into a folder I bought months ago and never used. On the front, I write one word: truth. Friday comes faster than I expect. The lawyer's office smells like lemon cleaner and coffee. The woman across from me, Dana Whitaker, listens without interrupting as I explain. The grocery store, the allowances, the refusals, the school trip. When I finish, I brace myself for doubt. Instead, Dana leans back and says, "Lila, this is financial abuse." Hearing it out loud steals my breath. "You and your child are entitled to support," she continues. "And based on your husband's income, the court will not take kindly to this behavior." "What if he gets angry?" I ask quietly. "He probably will," she says calmly. "But that doesn't make him right." I leave with a plan. A clear one. That evening, Mark finds the email confirmation before I say a word. "What's this?" he asks, holding up his phone. "A lawyer?" "Yes," I say. His jaw tightens. "You went behind my back?" "I went beside myself," I reply.
He scoffs.
"This is ridiculous. You're overreacting." I don't argue. I don't explain. "I'm setting boundaries," I say. "For Ethan and me." Mark laughs, sharp and humorless. "You think a judge is going to force me to pay because you can't shop properly?" I look at him, really look at him, and feel something surprising.
Calm.
"We'll see," I say. Later that night, after the house is quiet, I sit on the couch with a folder on my lap. The window is cracked open. Cool air drifts in, carrying the distant sound of traffic and someone's wind chimes. I breathe. For the first time in years, my no feels solid. Not loud. Not cruel. Just firm. I close the folder and place it on the shelf where I can see it. Control isn't taken back all at once. Sometimes it starts with a phone call. A document. A single word written in ink. The backlash doesn't arrive all at once. It trickles in first, sharp comments, slammed drawers, the way Mark suddenly narrates everything I do like he's building a case of his own. "You keeping track of how much water you're using now? Make sure you write that down for your lawyer." I don't respond. Silence unnerves him more than shouting ever did. Then the official notice arrives. A thick envelope.
Court seal.
My name printed clearly, without his beside it. Mark opens it before I get the chance. "You actually filed," he says, disbelief edging into anger. "You're really doing this?" "Yes," I say. He paces the living room like a trapped animal. "Do you have any idea how bad this makes you look?" I think of Ethan's empty lunchbox, the strawberries on the shelf, the school trip flyer folded into quarters. "I'm done worrying about how I look," I say. Mark leans in close. "I'll ruin you in court." I meet his eyes. My heart is racing, but my voice stays even. "You can try." The courthouse is colder than I expect. The kind of cold that sinks into your bones and reminds you you're small. Ethan stays with my neighbor, Janine Mercer, who squeezes my hand before I leave. "You're doing the right thing," she says. Inside the courtroom, Mark sits stiffly beside his attorney. He won't look at me. My lawyer, Dana, nods calmly. "Just answer honestly." The judge, Honorable Rebecca Lowell, listens. Really listens. She asks questions Mark wasn't prepared for. About income. About discretionary spending. About why grocery expenses were capped while business dinners weren't. Mark stumbles. "That's not relevant," his attorney says at one point. Judge Lowell raises an eyebrow. "It's very relevant." When it's my turn, my hands shake, but I speak. I talk about food. about control, about watching my child learn to shrink his needs. Mark interrupts once. She's exaggerating. The judge silences him with a look. Let her finish. By the end, the room feels heavy. Charged. Judge Lowell reviews the documents again. Receipts. Bank statements. Income reports. She exhales slowly. Mr. Calder, she says, your financial behavior demonstrates a clear pattern of control and neglect. Mark stiffens. The court is ordering monthly support in the amount of $19,000, effective immediately. The number hangs in the air. 19,000. Mark's head snaps up. That's outrageous. It's appropriate, the judge replies calmly. And enforceable. I don't smile. I don't cry. I just breathe. Outside the courtroom, Mark finally turns to me, face flushed with fury. You think you won, he hisses. I think Ethan did, I say. He laughs bitterly. You're going to regret this. I don't answer. When I pick Ethan up later, he runs to me, arms tight around my waist. Did I do okay at Janine's? He asks. You did great, I say, holding him close. At dinner that night, he hesitates over his plate. Mom, he says softly, am I allowed to eat seconds? The question hits harder than anything Mark ever said. Yes, I say immediately. You always were. He smiles, relieved, and reaches for more. Later, after he's asleep, I sit alone in the living room. The house is quiet, but it feels different now. Not tense. Not waiting. Held. For the first time, Mark's anger feels small. Because the truth stood in a courtroom today. And it won. The change doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It arrives quietly, in the space between breaths. The first thing I notice is the grocery store no longer feels like a battleground. I walk in a week after the court order goes into effect, pushing the same cart with the same stubborn wheel. The lights hum the same way. Prices are still high. Nothing about the world has softened.
But something inside me has.
I add chicken without hesitation. Yogurt.
Fruit.
I pause in front of the strawberries and place 2 boxes into the cart. Ethan beams. Both. Yes, I say. Both. At checkout, I don't check my phone. I don't calculate in my head. I just pay. Outside, I sit in the car for a moment longer than necessary, hands resting on the steering wheel, breathing like I've just surfaced from deep water. Back home, the house begins to fill in small, unexpected ways. Janine knocks one afternoon with a loaf of banana bread wrapped in foil. I made too much, she says, like it's no big deal. Ms. Harlan sends a note home with Ethan. He's been more confident in class lately.
He talks about science camp all the time.
A co-worker I barely know slips me a grocery gift card in the break room and whispers, no explanation needed. No explanation needed. The words settle gently in my chest. I start tracking finances, not out of fear, but out of clarity. Numbers stop feeling like a weapon and start feeling like information. I notice something surprising. There's enough. Not excess. Not luxury. Just enough to breathe. Ethan changes too. He stops asking if things cost too much. He asks what's for dinner instead. He laughs louder. He leaves cereal boxes open and forgets to turn off lights like a normal kid. One evening, as I'm putting dishes away, he wraps his arms around my waist. You're happier, he says. I blink. I am. He nods.
Yeah.
You don't look tired all the time. That night, after he's asleep, I sit on the couch with a cup of tea and let myself feel something I haven't in years. Relief. Not the shaky kind that comes after surviving something scary. The steady kind that settles in your bones and stays. Mark still tries. A text here. A complaint there. A reminder that he's paying enough. I don't engage. The court order speaks for me now. One afternoon, I find myself rearranging the pantry. It's full, not overflowing, but balanced. I line things up neatly, labels facing out. It feels symbolic, even if I can't fully explain why. Later, I open the windows. Light pours in, catching dust motes in the air. The house feels bigger, like it's exhaling with me. I realize something then. Support doesn't always come from the people who are supposed to give it. Sometimes it comes from neighbors, teachers, quiet friends, from systems that finally work the way they should. And sometimes it comes from yourself, the moment you stop apologizing for needing basic things. That night, as I turn off the lights, I pause in the hallway and look around. For the first time in a long time, this place doesn't feel like a compromise. It feels like a beginning. Rebuilding doesn't feel dramatic. It feels repetitive, gentle, almost boring in the best way. Mornings become predictable. I wake up before Ethan, make coffee, pack his lunch, without counting slices of bread. I write lists because I want to, not because I'm afraid of forgetting something important. I start cooking again. Real cooking, not survival meals. I try new recipes, mess some of them up, laugh when the smoke alarm goes off. Ethan sits at the counter doing homework, stealing pieces of bell pepper and pretending I don't notice. On Saturdays, we budget together, not because we have to, but because I want him to understand money without fear attached to it. This is what we earn. This is what we save. This is what we spend, I explain, showing him simple columns on a spreadsheet. He nods, seriously. And this is what we need. Yes, I say. Needs come first. The house starts to change in small ways. I replace the flickering kitchen light that Mark always said could wait. I buy a secondhand rug with warm colors and roll it out in the living room. Ethan lies on it immediately, arms spread wide. It smells new, he says. It smells like clean, I reply. Mark reaches out twice during this time. The first is a text. We should talk like adults. I read it. I don't answer. The second is more careful, more calculated. I didn't realize how bad things felt for you. Maybe we can reset. I close the message and set the phone face down. Some resets come too late. Instead, new connections form where old ones fell away. I start having lunch with a coworker, Maya Brooks, who listens without trying to fix anything. We talk about books, about recipes, about how strange it feels to realize you're not broken, you were just constrained. Ethan starts science camp. He comes home dusty and sunburned, talking about stars and rocks and constellations. One night, he drags me outside with a blanket and points to the sky. That one, he says, pointing confidently. That's Jupiter. I lie beside him, the grass cool beneath my hands, and feel something settle.
Pride. Peace.
Freedom. I hang a family photo in the hallway. Just Ethan and me at the park, laughing. No explanations. No gaps to fill. One afternoon, while grocery shopping, I catch my reflection in the freezer door. I look steady. Not thinner. Not richer. Just grounded. I realize then that rebuilding isn't about proving anything to anyone else. It's about creating a life where no one has to ask for permission to exist comfortably. That night, after Ethan is asleep, I sit at the kitchen table with a cup of tea and open my journal. I write down one sentence. I am not difficult for needing fairness. I underline it. Outside, the street is quiet. A neighbor's porch light clicks on. Somewhere, a dog barks once and settles. I turn off the light and walk down the hallway, passing the pantry, the living room, the rug that still smells faintly of clean. The house feels lived in now, not tense, not careful, just ours. A year passes without me noticing the exact moment it begins. Time stops feeling sharp. Days stop needing to be defended. The grocery store becomes just a place again, not a test, not a negotiation. On a warm Saturday morning, Ethan and I walk ourselves talking about what we'll cook for the week. He pushes the cart now, steering the stubborn wheel with exaggerated effort. Still broken, he says, laughing. Some things never change, I reply. The cart fills easily, thoughtfully. I don't rush. I don't calculate. I choose strawberries because Ethan likes them and salmon because I do. At checkout, the total flashes and I don't flinch. Outside, the sun warms my face as we load the bags. The moment mirrors the past, but the feeling is entirely different. At home, the walls hold new memories. Science camp photos on the fridge. A calendar filled with ordinary plans. A sense of ease that no longer feels fragile. Mark remains in the background of our lives, distant, controlled, limited by boundaries I no longer explain. We exchange necessary messages about schedules. Nothing more. Nothing less. One evening, I find Ethan at the table, drawing. "What's that?" I ask. "Our house," he says, not looking up. He colors the windows yellow.
Warm. Bright.
"It looks happy," I say. He nods. "It is." Later that night, after he's asleep, I open my journal to a clean page and read the first entry I wrote after the court order. The words feel like they belong to someone else now. I add one final reflection. Love doesn't ask you to shrink. Providing isn't optional. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're protection. I close the journal and set it on the shelf. In the kitchen, I notice something small but profound. The pantry door is open. Not because something's missing, because I forgot to close it. I smile and turn off the light. As I walk down the hallway, I pause where the family photo hangs. Ethan and me, laughing, unafraid. The house is quiet, peaceful, not because there's nothing wrong in the world, but because inside these walls, nothing needs to be defended anymore. I lock the door, climb into bed, and let myself rest fully. One word settles over everything, gentle and sure. Enough.